student loans to bring down those costs. We're going to push for building more housing and a rent cap so that housing costs do.
I've felt really lucky in my position here. I've been able to talk. Let's talk about the economy a bit. As you know, it is a top concern for voters. And according to a recent Pew Research Center survey, only 28% of Americans would categorize the economy as either excellent or good. This is up 9% since April, but 28% thinking the economy is excellent or good obviously is still low. So what's Democrats' pitch about the economy?
Well, I think we have to acknowledge that the rents are too high, that housing costs are too high, grocery bills are still too high, that the president has done an extraordinary job in bringing manufacturing, good paying jobs back, but we need to do more to lower costs. And then we say, here's our plan. We pushed for lowering prescription drug costs, and we're going to do even more. We pushed for universal child care. The Republicans stood in the way. We will get child care covered. We pushed to forgive student loans to bring down those costs. We're going to push for building more housing and a rent cap so that housing costs come down. The Republican plan is to give tax cuts to the very, very wealthy. And who do you think is going to do more for working class Americans to bring down costs? And I think we have to win that argument.
How do you win that argument, though? Because January CPI report indicated that inflation was much higher than anticipated. So how do you say to voters, hey, our economy as Democrats is better than a Republican economy when their wallets don't feel that way?
Well, because the Republican plan is to give tax cuts to the very, very wealthy. And our plan is to put more money in the pockets of the working class. We did that when we gave stimulus checks. We did that when we gave the child tax credit. That is going to go after bringing down rent costs. We're the party that's going to bring down housing costs. We're the party that's going to bring down child care costs. So I think we share what our agenda is. Now, obviously, we acknowledge that the pandemic caused inflation. That inflation was a result of both of the Trump and Biden administrations. And I don't think it's fair to blame, just like I wouldn't blame Donald Trump, I don't blame Joe Biden. That was because of the pandemic, and we had to have a response. But the question is, going forward, who's going to have a better plan to lower costs? And I think Democrats do.
I've felt really lucky in my position here. I've been able to talk to voters all throughout the country, and their top concern across the board is when I go to the grocery store, when I get everyday items, they are simply more expensive than in years past. And Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said in the Senate last week that prices are unlikely to fall. So do you think that that will alienate voters?
No, I think we have to acknowledge that voters are right, that the costs are higher. I mean, first of all, even if you have inflation rate falling, there was inflation. So by definition, the price of milk, the price of eggs, the price of gas is higher than it used to be. And I think what voters don't like is if people are not honest about that. You have to acknowledge the pain, the hardship. And then you say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put more money in your pockets with the child tax credit. We're going to lower your rent because we're going to build more rental housing, and we're going to have a rent cap so it doesn't go higher than inflation. We're going to make sure that you don't have to have child care costs. We're going to push for universal child care. We're going to reduce your cost of prescription drugs. And I think then they're willing to listen. Both of the Trump and Biden administrations. And I don't think it's fair. We did that when we gave the child tax credit. That is going to go after to blame, just like I wouldn't blame Donald Trump, I don't blame Joe Biden. That was because of the pandemic.
To voters all throughout the country, and their top concern across the board is when I go to
bring down child care costs. So I think we share what our agenda is. Now,